Mayaworks models its fair or practices fair trade is that we build a long-term relationship with our artisans, which means that for us, we do not take on a lot of new artisans from year to year, because we are making a long-term commitment to the artisans that we have. And it's our policy that until our artisan partners are working at capacity, or meaning that they can't possibly take on any more work, then we would not add on any other artisan groups. Now, there are new artisans that come in and out of the organization on a year-to-year basis, but these are artisans that the individual women's groups have decided they want to bring in. So, for instance, let's say we have our Sanhuyu group that's in the Central Highlands of Chimaltenango area. They'll decide if they want to bring on another artisan from their community. Mayaworks completely stays out of that. So that happens, but if we're going to go into a completely different community and take on another artisan group, we haven't done that until our women are working at full capacity. Our other our other partners, we're always looking for folks who can give us the best quality service for the the least amount of expense. So we're constantly looking for a broker in Guatemala to get our product to the U.S. We're looking for people for our raw materials. Who can we partner with to get the raw materials, the best high quality raw materials at the best possible price. We're constantly working that both on the U.S. end and on the Guatemalan end as well. Mayaworks micro lending program is very, very small. It's only for Mayaworks artisan partners. So the way that it works is an artisan partner will come and say, I would like to have a micro loan. In Mayaworks, generally, a micro loan will be up to $500. That would be the largest loan they would get. And in order to receive that loan, though, the artisan needs to present a business plan. It's a very simple business plan. It's something that she sits down with our staff in Guatemala, and she'll begin to look at it. So she looks at what she wants to do, and if it's going to be a profitable project. So what are going to be her expenses going in? And what are going to be her selling expenses? That's oftentimes our artisans don't take a look at that. They want to, let's say for instance, they want to buy some pigs and create fatten up pigs to sell for meat in the market. Well, they may not look at, they'll look at what it's going to cost to feed that pig and what it's going to cost to take that pig to the vet, to get all its shots or whatever. But they may not look at the cost of transporting to get the pig to market and what they have, those selling costs. So we take a look at those and we say, okay, now what do you think you can sell the pigs for once they're ready, once they're fattened up? And then and if they're going to be able to make, if revenue is over expenses, then we will fund, the project. Some projects are great. Our women do everything from, like I said, from the pigs to selling lumber to buying crops. We have another woman who sells vitamins in her community. Another woman who makes natural cleaning products. The best projects are those that are crops, but they're also the most risky. Those will yield, the best profits, but also the most risky. So when you ask me, what kind of success we've had, well, the weather in Guatemala has been pretty bad for the last 2 years. So those poor women, unfortunately, have lost a major part of their crops. And so when that happens, Mayaworks has a hard time getting paid back. It's tough. Or will defer. They can pay us back beyond the terms of the loan. Other projects are less risky, but they're also less profitable, but they get paid back. So I would say that we try to really keep our default rate to lower than 10%, and for the most part, it works that way. We do have a few women that don't pay back their loans, but for the most part, it's very good. This is an incredibly difficult business, I think, and because it's an industry that works under-resourced. We are completely and utterly under-resourced. And also, you know, with Mayaworks, we have inherent problems with our business model. I firmly believe that our model is not sustainable as it is today, and we see the proof of that. Since 2008, Mayaworks has not been profitable. Since 2008, of those years, Mayaworks has only been profitable 1 year. And of course, you know, what kind of business can continue to work like that where it's not profitable from year to year to year? We keep drawing down our capital, and you know, eventually, if we don't make serious changes, Mayaworks will unfortunately cease to exist. And the problem with our particular model is that because it got started it was started out of a volunteer model. So it was really volunteers who were selling the products in their local communities. Well, that's not sustainable. That was, you know, maybe an organic way to start for a few years, but we really needed to move toward a more retail model and really building an infrastructure for reaching out to communities to, you know, build a more retail model. What happens when you have volunteers selling your product from year to year, you know, they're very, very well-intentioned, but at some point they stop selling your product because they've just been doing it for many years and want to do something else. Or two, they're selling in the same venues from year to year, so they see their sales dwindling. And three, because for a small organization, an under-resourced organization like Mayaworks, it's very, very difficult for us to bring on a whole new product line from year to year. So folks, you know, although they're very well-intentioned and they want to keep buying Mayaworks, they have everything Mayaworks. So, you know, it's difficult to just keep, you know, innovating your product line. That was inherently the problem with our model, and there was really no plan beyond that. Now we do have an e-commerce website, and our e-commerce sales are increasing, but it's you know, we still rely heavily on those volunteer sales, and we need to be able to find other alternatives, another revenue stream for those dwindling volunteer sales. And also, Mayaworks hasn't been able to build much of a wholesale business. I mean, we do have some wholesale that we sell, but that requires having you know, somebody dedicated to building wholesale sales, and we just don't have, because we are so under-resourced, we just don't have those people to do that. We have revenues from donations from individuals. We get some small foundation funding, but for the most part, we have individual donations. There are big differences between a nonprofit fair trade and a for-profit fair trade. There's a level of accountability in a nonprofit fair trade organization that you don't necessarily need to have in a for-profit fair trade. And I don't mean anything derogatory about that at all. I don't think that there's one is better than the other. And in some ways, I think maybe for-profit fair trades might be more efficient because they don't have to use resources in, you know, doing yearly audits and reporting to the IRS and reporting to the Illinois Attorney General's office and to do all of these other things, making sure that we have, you know, at least three board members on our board of directors. All of these things which take away from the business aspect of things. So in that sense, you know, those are the differences. And so one might argue that being a nonprofit fair trade, maybe, you know, that you're more scattered because you have to worry about all of these other things too, these things that you need to be accountable. But accountability is good. You know, accountability is good, and people having that information available to people so they can see what we're doing, you know, brings it to another level. So I can't say one way or the other whether one is better than the other. There are pros and cons on both sides, I guess.